Next question today is from Lauren. Lauren says, what do you think the legal ages should be for drinking, gambling, buying cigarettes, buying marijuana, driving, consenting to sex, and joining the military? All right. I don't have so much of a specific age. I think I've talked about how a lot of these ages are sort of arbitrary. In European cultures where kids grow up around wine at dinner, and the drinking age is 18, it seems absolutely fine. And would it be different if it was 17 and a half or 18 and a half? Probably not very different. Consent to sex. Age of consent is different in different states. Can we 100% definitively determine the point at which someone is mature enough to have informed consent over sexual activity with other individuals considered to be adults? I don't know that science has a specific answer for us. We can come up with a range, but I don't know that there's anything magical about 16, 17, or 18.
No, there absolutely isn't. But I think you have to come up with an arbitrary number because people do age differently, and
Yes.
you go through that process at different points. But when you're making policy that is going to be administered to people across a whole population, you
Yes,
just
indeed.
have to come up with a number.
That's what gets me to my issue is not what is the number necessarily, as long as it's reasonable, right? 8 years old for joining the military, I'm against. 40 years old before you can drive, I'm against. But they should be consistent with each other. And this is where I've been reading Daniel Kahneman's book, Thinking Fast and Slow, and it points out how people very often have very different reactions to, if I give you two scenarios individually for single evaluation versus giving them to you together, very often people will come up with different answers. So if I were to say to you on the first of the month, let's have a discussion about what the age for buying alcohol should be, we might have a conversation and come up with one answer. If 2 weeks later I say, let's have a conversation about what the age should be for joining the military, we might come up with a number. If simultaneously I say, let's come up with an age for buying alcohol and joining the military, joint evaluation will often give us different answers. And I think that joint evaluation is key here. Does it make sense to be able to join the military and die for your country and make the decision to kill other people while fighting under the flag of your country and not being able to buy alcohol?
No.
That doesn't make sense to me. So that for me, the big issue with these questions of at what age should you be legally allowed to do X, Y, or Z is, are they coherent and consistent with each other? And again, I don't know what the answer is. I think the drinking age, maybe in the US, the drinking age does have to be 21 because of the entire culture around drinking that encourages binge drinking as soon as kids get a hold of alcohol and blah, blah, blah. If we had more of a European culture, we could easily lower the drinking age to 18, certainly for beer and wine, if not hard alcohol. We could look at these individually driving. When I was 16 and a half, the earliest legal day that I could take my license test, my half birthday is August 2nd. August 3rd, I was taking my license test. In retrospect, though, was I truly mature enough to really drive in the way that I feel is completely well-adjusted? Probably not. There's probably an argument to be made that maybe you should be a little older before you can get your license. But are they in total coherent?
It's interesting that you brought up drinking and then driving later on because, I mean, the driving culture that we have here, because the United States is a big country, very rural in some areas, that allows people to just, potentially have a few drinks and then take off in a car somewhere. Versus out in Europe, they may take public transportation. So I think that's often used as an argument as to why our drinking age here should be higher.
More people driving.
And when they've tested it out, it turns out that the car accident rates did decline, and I think that's why it's a very hard thing to argue against.
Yes.
But I think that if you're able to die for your country, you should also be able to go home and have a drink. And I think maybe 21's too old. I think 18 is fine for most of these things. Some of them, even younger, is okay with me. I think
Although
driving,
it's been shown that the mind is not nearly fully developed at age 18.
Yeah, but it's maybe fully developed when you're 23.
Right.
And
so
we're going to wait
that,
till everyone's 23 before we enact all these things?
Is it developed enough, I guess would be the question. So I don't have a firm answer, but I think the system in total needs to be coherent and sort of internally logical.